Human Vengeance. Chapter 25. AI Hackers. A group of 4 SIVA arrived soon after the crew were taken. They explained that with the bespoke nature of many ships, it was easier to investigate the onboard computer with species it was designed for. They moved quickly, taking copies of archival data for their legal process, but they made a point to mention they would leave the ship with us for now. Over the following few days, talks continued between both teams of diplomats. The first medical reports came from the collective, coming to an agreement that bacteria and viruses had a remote chance of making an interspecies jump. They were confident they could make a series of medications in preparation, although it was unlikely to be required. In turn, we agreed with their statements. They provided details of medication used to combat the rare illness that existed, which we accepted. It turned out most of their deadly ones had been eliminated many years before. The ones left were more of a nuisance than anything to be truly concerned about. However, being they were alien in their nature, we couldn't be sure they wouldn't become a plague for us. They also told us the atmosphere of the station could be adjusted to suit us. They already had some oxygen in place, and increasing the percentage of it would have little negative impact. It was agreed that after live cultures of the most common microbes had been grown and studied, they would change the air, and we could truly meet face to face. In this time, Wolf was busy. It communicated with the station to update its star charts. The AI gave what it could, though it lacked what we wanted. It seemed they did not trust it with such information. However, Wolf found that whilst it didn't know where outposts were, it also couldn't give information on certain systems. It seemed that it couldn't say an outpost was there, but it couldn't say what was there. With that understanding, Wolf rapidly went through as many systems as it could. During this, slowly worked to test their protections against hacking. They had much, especially in the expected way of AI infiltration. Directly accessing data wouldn't work from an external route. However, it seemed the people weren't as prepared. It uploaded a welcome message to the station forum, including a small downloadable attachment of the diplomats and crew waving hello. Hidden within was a simple malware, one that recorded information on the device accessing it and sending it to Wolf. The message spread like wildfire, with the download being copied all over the station. It soon found that one of the most senior access account had downloaded it, letting it copy the login credentials. It used them to generate a new admin-level user and wiped all logs of its creation. With the entirety of the station's data open to it, Wolf specifically searched for the interesting systems. Sure enough, the majority were fleet outposts in resource-rich systems. Interestingly, the others were logged as refuge worlds. There was a pair for each species, terraformed to be near identical environments to their home planet. They held a large, viable population, able to produce the food and energy required to sustain such populations. They had top-tier defenses, with all evidence of their existence set to be immediately purged in the case of potential destruction of the collective. The outposts themselves held smaller fleets of around 50 ships each. Nearly all were the peace crafts, with some being bigger with additional crescents, but the same design. What caught Wolf's attention were the 5 other ships that appeared in each one. Though it hadn't existed on the day of devastation, it had seen the footage of the attacks. The oblong ships that had set this off were a part of each fleet, called planetary enforcers. They were the heavyweight ships of their force, and the only combat ships rated for atmospheric travel. They looked to be rarely deployed, almost always in cases of first contact. Wolf made sure to collect as much as it could. They had taken some steps to keep information hidden, but not enough as far as it was concerned. Knowing the numbers of ships able to be deployed and the locations they would come from would be exceedingly useful in the event of all-out war. Finally, there was a message from their central court. The case of Kivrea and crew was up for judgment and sentencing. Samuel took point in this, having a greater amount of experience with laws. Our group was taken to one of their case rooms, situated within the central axle. Most of the journey took place in another shuttle. Although the chance of infection was remote, until treatments were ready, Our diplomats were isolated. The central court was a fairly barren place. It was made of straight panels of metal, with no decorations beyond signs above doors. It was built in the pursuit of function, with no thought for form. The case room itself was much of the same. It was rectangular, a raised platform hanging over a depression, a shield separating them. On the platform were a dozen chairs, 6 either side of a more throne-like seat, facing away from the depression. A Seavarg sat in the throne, reading through a document on a tablet. It looked up, solemnly bringing its hands together. "Welcome to the Central Court. I am Judikar Zenvi. You are here regarding the case of the flames in Savagos piracy, yes?" "That is correct, Judikar. Having been the ones to bring them in, we are interested in seeing the process all the way through." Its mouth flattened into what was now commonly assumed to be their version of a smile. "It is good to see you interested in such things." To answer the big question, they have indeed been found guilty. A number of them gave confessions, and the data we retrieved from their ship backed it up. As it spoke, Zenvi fiddled with its tablet. Monitors flicked to life, showing various pieces of evidence. Records of movements ran alongside reports of ships disappearing in similar areas. Recordings of interrogations had transcripts next to them, highlighting what was being said in real time. Our judgment algorithm agrees with my judgment as well, classifying them as guilty on the same charges I found. As such, it falls to me to pass sentence. Given their prior arrest, it seems they are one of the few who weren't failed by our system, but chose to act outside it. Therefore, they require a mixture of punishment and help in the hopes of changing them. Samuel glanced at Natasha as she gave a shallow nod. If I am correct, their punishment would be to work off their social debt under the species most harmed by their actions, correct? Zenvi gave a satisfied clap. Indeed. It is a way of giving back to our community that which was stolen. Do you operate under the same ideals? He gave a half smile, talking quickly. Of a sort. Who will they be helping then? Zenvi looked back at its tablet. The Kreshot. Kivrea primarily targeted their ore haulers. Samuel moved a little closer to it, putting on a thoughtful expression. If I am remembering right, they mainly run the mining sites, don't they? How would they fit in people who are clearly ill-suited to the task? The Seavarg paused. I'm not certain, to be honest. It is up to the Kreshot to decide. In that case, could I make a suggestion? How would you feel about them working with us to pay off their debt to society? Human vengeance. Chapter 26. The verdict. Zenvi drummed their fingers, clearly mulling it over. An interesting proposal you have there. But tell me, why would you wish to take over this task? Samuel smiled, raising up a couple of fingers. The first reason is simple. This is our first time encountering pirates. From what you have so kindly shared with us, this is a rare occurrence. So, if we can build a relationship with them, we can get an understanding of how they operate. They might be unique in terms of how they work, but if not, it would prove useful in protecting ourselves. We are new, as you well know, which to some would likely make us an excellent target. The second reason is as a public relations move on our side. By showing that you are willing to trust us with such a serious task, our people will feel respected. It would make our populace more willing to make adjustments to join the collective. Thirdly, we still hold their ship. By taking them with us, we can use their knowledge on how it functions, and maybe make upgrades to our own fledgling numbers. As their ship is designed to be operated by them, it stands to reason they would be the best experts. Finally, think on their side. They have acted against your norms. There is no denying that. They have hurt and committed crimes, and you have tried to help them. But by making them obligate representatives to us, would it not give them a wider purpose they would never otherwise achieve? Would it not be more likely to convince them to act as citizens should by being given a measure of pride and responsibility that would otherwise be lacking? Zinvi gave a slow clap, mouth flattening. An intriguing set of arguments. I cannot say I am unmoved by your proposal. But what if they act against your noble intents? Samuel gestured to the soldiers that still accompanied them. They will be kept under guard, like us. They will not be given independent travel to ensure an inability to escape. Any work will be checked over. Any information they give on pirate operations will be looked over and communicated with yourselves. The Seavarg drummed its fingers again. I see you are prepared for such things. I will admit it is not often someone chooses to ask for penance to be served beneath them. To be honest, no one really likes having to run a penal colony. We will require regular inspections to ensure they are being well treated and progressing as planned, but I see no reason to deny your request. I am sure the Crescent will be relieved. Samuel held out his hand, a move slowly copied by Zenvi. He gave a slow pump, looking it in the eyes. Thank you. Its mouth flattened again before releasing his hand. It pressed a button causing the throne to turn to face the depression. It held a finger over another one, pointing at the seats with its other hand. Please, take a seat. The diplomats obeyed, swiftly sitting. After letting them get comfortable, Zenvi pressed the button, speaking loudly. Bring in the flames in Savagus crew. There was a hum, followed by a quiet release of gas from hidden hydraulics. A section of the rear wall of the depression opened, and the manacled crew were brought in. A few Avanci escorted the group, keeping to the outsides. Kivrea glanced at our delegation, relaxing at the sight of them. Zenvi waited for them to be in position, looking down at them from on high. With a solemn voice it spoke, words echoing over them. You have been found guilty of multiple acts of piracy, bodily harm, and trading of illegal goods. I am disappointed to see this is your second conviction, with your actions unchanged despite our efforts. Therefore, it is my duty to pass sentence on you. In standard times, you would be sent from here to the care of the Crescent Corps for penal work. However, due to your acts against the newest race to reach our station, I am changing the sentence. In place of the Crescent, you shall be passed to the care of humanity. There, you will work as they see fit for 30 revolutions. Its short speech ended. The Zyvarg waved one of its hands. The movement caused the Avanci to move, leading them from the room. Samuel glanced at it, surprised. Is that it? It gave him a strange look before answering. Yes, that is indeed it. Why? How does your process work? His eyes rolled up a little before returning to normal. Well, normally we go through each bit of evidence with a lawyer on each side to argue relevance or not. Thus is done in front of a jury, a randomly chosen list of normal people who decide guilt at the end of it all. Then the judge gives the final sentence, as it were. Zenvi drummed its fingers again. Does that not take up a large amount of time and resources? Surely it would make sense to just have one person review and decide. The issue we found with that is, should that one person have any personal bias, it is easy for them to abuse it. By instead having a group of ordinary citizens decide, it tends to arrive at a fairer conclusion. They are screened for any link to the case as well, to ensure they are as neutral as possible. The Zyvarg let out a breath. Interesting. It seems to me as though you would benefit from using our algorithm then, as it would save some of this effort. Why have a random group when you have a perfect system for deciding guilt? Samuel gave in with a small nod. He wasn't going to convince them now, and maybe this algorithm would have some benefit. I would happily accept such an offer. Zenvi clicked a few times. Marvelous. It will take time, so I will arrange for a copy to be supplied with the transfer of the guilty parties. Natasha spoke up, a small smile on her lips. Thank you, Zenvi. We should be going now. I am sure you have much work to do. The Zivarg gave a clap in response. I'm afraid I do. It has been a pleasure to meet you all, and I hope we can meet in the future. It watched the diplomats file out, returning to its screens as the door closed. Outside, our group returned to their shuttle, letting it carry them back to the ship. As they arrived, Natasha headed off to see Captain Harris, pleased to be bringing good news. He was in his command chair as usual, watching over the crew from on high. You're back, and from the smirk on your face, I assume it was a good trip? Natasha snorted, clicking her neck. You could say that. Samuel talked them into releasing our new friends into our care. How about your end? He gave a grin, glancing at the designated Wolf screen. Wolf came up with a plan to help us in the aftermath of when we strike, and to further our vengeance in one. The screen turned to a wave form as Wolf addressed the pair. Indeed, I have. What do you know of deep fakes?